Alrighty, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for First Alert Weather Plus. We are going to talk about kind of our weather setup, how it's impacted our drought, where we sit rainfall wise. So, going to cover a lot of different topics here. But first, of course, it is Easter weekend. Sunday also marks the end of Passover. So, some of you may be traveling, and our weather pattern, while it's kept us warm and dry, it has kept a cold front out to our west that has been bringing a multi-day severe weather threat out to our west in the plains. This happened, I believe it was like a month ago as well. So the plains, which this is typically a really active time for the plains in the spring, their severe weather season is always really rough. It has been really rough with not just a one-day severe weather event, but several multi-day severe weather events over the last couple of months here. So if you are traveling out west, just know that there is the potential for severe weather this afternoon and evening from the Midwest into Illinois and Indiana, all the way through Kansas, parts of Texas as well. The tornado threat's low. We're mainly looking at damaging wind and hail with the threats today. Same for tomorrow, but notice pretty much the same place. We'll be watching for isolated strong to severe storms from southwest Texas through Dallas into parts of, it looks like, Arkansas, all the way through the Great Lakes region as well. And then going into Sunday on Easter, if you have travel plans on Sunday, just know that, again, right in the middle of the plains, from parts of Missouri into western Tennessee into northern Louisiana, the potential for severe weather exists. And again, the threats will mainly be damaging wind and hail with these three severe weather threats that we just covered out to our west. So if you are traveling that way, just keep an eye on your flights, especially if you're traveling in the afternoon and evening, because there will be the potential for maybe some delays for your flights. But the reason that weather system has stayed out to our west is because of a ridge of high pressure that has been parked over the southeast, and essentially a ridge of high pressure acts like a force field. So it's been blocking that cold front from making any forward progression. Now, as we speak right now, that high is starting to weaken and push off the coast. And as it does so, that's going to bring in a southwest flow, which is going to give us more cloud cover over the weekend, really warm temperatures. But it's also going to allow that front to have a little more forward progression and ultimately knock on our door as we head into next week. But in the meantime, we've been pretty warm and dry for quite a while now. We've had a really nice stretch of days, but that hasn't impacted our drought. It takes a lot to impact our drought. And we had a lot of rain in the beginning of the month, and for so far late winter into early spring. We've had a good bit of rain. We are technically in a deficit for the year. We'll talk about that in a second, but not enough to have any kind of super major impact on the drought. Notice just slightly dry conditions in far north and east Georgia there, from Augusta all the way up into the mountains. So I'm sure that's not really impacting growing season for all of the grapes and all of our wineries up there. But overall, the state's looking pretty good in the rainfall department. We didn't have a late winter freeze either. So for our strawberries, our peaches, our blueberries, our pecans, all great things when it comes to our growing season and ultimately our early spring season when we start to harvest all of those things. We don't have an extreme drought. We didn't have a late freeze. So I do expect all of those things to be ready to rock and roll when the time comes for them to harvest. Peach season, of course, usually goes late May into the summer months. So I know personally I'm very excited for that. That'll be wonderful, and we should have a really good crop this year. And not hard to maintain. I mean, it is hard to maintain, but when the weather is cooperating, makes it easier to maintain. And it looks like, at least so far this year, we haven't gone into any kind of extreme drought. It's just slightly dry conditions. So hopefully that's made everything easier to kind of keep up with. Now, when it comes to April, our rainfall total so far for the month, 3.22 inches. We did get a lot of rain in the beginning of the month. The normal is just over 2 inches. So we're at a surplus of just over an inch for the month of April. So April started pretty wet. April showers bring May flowers, right? It's not abnormal for us to have a lot of rain in the month of April. However, March is usually one of our wetter months, and we didn't pick up a lot of rain in March. We had a couple of systems that quickly moved through, brought us that chance for severe weather, but we didn't get any kind of real significant rain in March. So that's what helped us put us in a deficit for the year, was that lack of rain in March. We definitely made up for it in April, but picked up 14.16 inches of rain so far in 2025. So that's about an inch and a half below normal. So we're not necessarily dying for rain, but it wouldn't be a bad thing to pick up a little more. And we do have more on the way this upcoming week. So again, we've been stuck in this really tight pattern where this ridge of high pressure has been blocking that front from moving in, which is going to give us a beautiful Easter weekend. Very different story out to our west, as I was mentioning, all across the plains and into parts of the Midwest. We will have that chance for rain and storms, even severe weather. So this is, again, a friendly reminder if you just tuned in that if you have flights out to the west, anywhere from Texas all the way through Arkansas, Kansas, up into Illinois and Indiana, just keep an eye on your flight because it is pretty rainy and stormy out west for several days until this ridge breaks down. So going into Sunday, that ridge starts to break down. We have a lot of moisture pumping in from the Gulf, so you'll notice more cloudy skies. And what that's going to do is offer us enough moisture that as this front finally is able to make its way through, that will bring us the chance for heavy rain. So Monday is a first alert weather day. That pattern finally going to break down. So while so far this month we are actually in a surplus, we're just going to keep on adding and maybe break our year deficit and keep us from going into any kind of drought. Of course, too much rain is a bad thing in terms of flooding, but this time of year you also don't want to have too little rain as well, as people are starting to put their spring crops in and all that good stuff. So it looks like we'll finally get some rain on Monday. Monday evening seems to be the time frame, and then this front is going to slowly sag across the southeast and stall. So that's going to keep our forecast pattern just generally unsettled going into next week. So while this week has been really, really wonderful, we will start to see some changes next week. When it comes to any kind of severe weather next week, that threat looks pretty low. I can't rule out maybe an isolated strong storm with some gusty wind, maybe some small hail, very kind of late spring type thunderstorm. But we'll keep an eye on that, just a little too soon to tell. But either way, get ready for a more unsettled week. And as I mentioned, we will add on to our rainfall total for the month so far. It looks like we'll finally pick up maybe between about half an inch to an inch of rain with some locally heavy amounts possible. Don't really see the potential for any kind of flooding. Don't think we're going to see that much rain, but do expect us to at least add on to our rainfall total so far this month, which will prevent us from going into any kind of drought. Again, we're in just kind of dry conditions in some spots in far north and east Georgia, but nothing that is of concern, even despite our little dry stretch of weather we had. It's going to take a lot more than just a dry week to put us into a drought. So we're in good shape at the rainfall department. Looks like even as we round out April, we're going to stay in this unsettled pattern. So expect at least a small chance for rain just about every day next week. Severe weather threat doesn't look staggering for us, so we're going to keep an eye on that. I'll quickly show you your 7-day forecast just in case you missed it a little bit earlier. But overall, really nice weather going into Easter weekend. We'll continue our nice dry stretch of weather for us, but then we'll pick those rain and storm chances back up next week. About a 40% coverage for our first alert weather days Monday and Tuesday. Smaller coverage of rain Wednesday and Thursday. We'll just look for kind of summer-like storms Wednesday and Thursday. As that ridge breaks down, that'll allow more moisture to move back in, and that'll allow for kind of that summer-like pattern. The dew points, that moisture content in the atmosphere, that'll start to go up as well. So it's going to feel a little more like summertime next week with the humidity becoming higher and also those afternoon storm chances with temperatures staying in the 80s. So despite our higher rain chances, we'll stay in the 80s, which will be really nice because I feel like lately, if we get a cold front to come through, it actually does cool us down and we have to bring back our coats. I don't see any of that in the near future. We're going to stay above average, both rainfall-wise and temperature-wise, going into the end of the month, which will be wonderful. Spring has finally settled in, everyone. Spring has sprung, if you will. All right, so that's an update on your forecast. No, this dry stretch has not impacted our drought at all. In fact, we are looking really good in the rainfall department. So hopefully that's good news for all the spring plants that you guys may be planting now that we don't have to worry about any more freezes. I hope you can join us on Atlanta News First at noon. We'll give you a full update on your forecast. Enjoy your Friday, enjoy your Easter weekend, and we'll catch you here next time.